Welcome, dear students. In the current session, we will talk about the grammatical features during the Renaissance period, and I hope and expect by the end of this session, you would know what were the main features of the English grammar during the Renaissance period. Well, my dear students, English grammar in the 16th and early 17th centuries is marked more by the survival of certain forms and usages than what I would say change. What I mean by that is it was stable. The grammar of the Shakespearean times, the grammar of Renaissance times, that is, in other words, the 16th century and the early 17th century were the times when there were no major changes in grammar. In fact, before this period, if we just go back into the history, in the later half of the Middle English times, the second half of the Middle English times, a lot of changes had taken place in grammar and the inflections already had been reduced. Now, whatsoever were those inflections that came over to this period, they were retained. Shakespearean reader can notice certain things. Probably a Shakespearean reader would notice minor differences in terms of form, in terms of framing of the sentence, the structure, the syntax, as well as the idiom, that is the usage. But of course, all these, differences or these varieties are very minor in nature. My dear students, actually these differences of syntax and idiom, although they attract us when we read Shakespeare, but they are not of great significance because they do not show major change in language. And actually they do not also interfere as such very seriously with what we would call our understanding of Shakespearean text as readers. My dear students, actually, overall, in terms of grammar and syntax, it was a period of stability. No major changes occurred during the time, and the vocabulary mainly was developed during this period. It was very radical in its development. But when it came to syntax and grammar, it was more stabilized, it was more standardized, and of course a lot of factors played a role in that. The schooling system, the education system, formalized instruction in grammar. Now in the schools, the children of masses would go to schools, and in the schools they would be taught grammar in the formal ways. The natural result was that grammar was fixed, it was more stable as compared to all the previous times. Actually, in certain ways, the process of standardization of this grammar had already taken place. Now, what was done was this standardization was retained for some time. People preferred to stick to the London Standard because that was emerging as the standard English, and the grammatical structures of the same London Standard were followed. If we contrast, this London Standard with its vocabulary and its grammar, we would see that in terms of grammar, it was quite fixed. However, overall, I would say we do not notice any major changes in grammar, structure, and syntax during this period.